One Piece chapter 977 gave us a lot of what we wanted to see. We got Jinbei and the Straw Hats interacting and some Straw Hats action from all of them, a little bit of action from the Kid Pirates, but most importantly, we got a big reveal. Kaido has a son. Now, there's going to be a lot of speculation over this next 2 weeks because we have a break due to the pandemic from the Shonen Jump, but a lot of speculation. So this video, I just want to break down exactly what all the possible options there are. Of course, way out there ones like Zoro or like something crazy like that I'm not gonna include, but anything that's like relatively possibly, even possibly remotely possible, I'm gonna go through it, and we're gonna talk about how likely that is in my personal opinion, and also how interesting that would make the story. Any direction Oda has taken a story before, he hasn't done without giving it a lot of depth and great storytelling elements. So I definitely trust Oda wherever he takes this, but from my end, it's just my way of trying to rationalize why he would make one of these options Kaido's son. So first of all, let's break down all the information we have, which pretty much is nothing. In regards to Kaido's son, we know nothing about him. This is the first time he's ever been mentioned at all. So the only information we could take is from Kaido himself, which still isn't really a lot of information. But let's just take what we have. So Kaido, to start, we don't really know his age at all. There's no information about how old he is. The only thing we have to go off of is his history and his appearance. So history-wise, he was with the Rocks Pirates as an apprentice. And I think that's really important because if he was, say, the same age as Big Mom, I think he's, right now, at least right now, he's stronger than Big Mom in my opinion. And back then, I don't think it would be very different. If they were the same age, I don't see why she wouldn't be apprentice, and why they weren't just both crew members. But back then, he was noted as an apprentice. So if you look at that age-wise, we could kind of estimate if you have Buggy and Shanks, who were both apprentices on the Roger Pirates. They started at 9 years old, and when the Roger Pirates disbanded, they were 15. So we can't use that as like a definite for the age, and so like we can't say Kaido's definitely 15 when the or the Rocks Pirates were defeated, but we could kind of get an estimate of he was kind of younger, right? So at the very most, I would say when the Rocks Pirates were defeated, Kaido maybe was 20 at the oldest, is my personal estimation, and that kind of lines up. So if he was, say, 20 at the oldest when the Rocks Pirates were disbanded, right now he would be 58. And that's really my personal estimation of how old he is, because I don't think he's as old as Big Mom. Big Mom's like 68 years old. I think Kaido's in his prime, right? Still in his very peak prime performance. That's why he has the highest bounty, and he's super strong, unkillable, and all that. So I think he's late 50s, early 50s, maybe even younger at like late 40s, but that's the range I'm thinking. Of course, there's no way to confirm this, but that's the kind of estimation I'm going with. Now, in terms of his appearance, we don't know his race. The only thing we really know about him is that he's referenced as a creature or a like beast in many. Of course, he's the Beast Pirates. He's known as the strongest creature in the world. And like when Whitebeard was alive, he was known as the strongest man in the world. Kaido's the strongest creature in the world. So there's a lot of references to how he's not exactly 100%, at least not 100% human. We don't know. He has these horns sticking out of him. We don't know if that's like something he did to himself or something naturally he was born with. So that's really all we have to go off of in terms of his appearance. One thing to note, we do have a picture of him when he was younger, 20 years ago, during a flashback with Odin. It showed Kaido. His mustache wasn't as long, and he didn't have a beard. He, of course, no scars on him yet because Odin hadn't slashed him at the time, but that's really it. So 20 years ago, if we're going back based off the fact, the assumption that he's 58 now, him at 38 years old 20 years ago, that kind of matches up with the appearance. in my personal opinion, maybe you have a different thoughts, but that's just how I think. I think he's in his late 50s. Now let's talk about his personality. Kaido is always drunk. He's always getting tipsy. He's getting hammered all the time. Definitely beyond a doctor's recommendation. But because he's drunk all the time, he's erratic. He's emotionally unstable. Sometimes he's very angry. Most of the time he's angry. I don't think I've seen him happy too often. So very few happy moments of Kaido, something to note. But he's angry, erratic, impulsive, and sometimes he even gets sad when he's drunk. Sometimes he just starts crying, and then the next moment he snaps and he just wants to like kill everybody. So that's his personality. And if you look at his goals, of course, he's trying to get the One Piece too. He wants to be the Pirate King. He has a road poneglyph, and he really just wants to build power. He wants to be super, super strong. He's trying to collect all these zones specifically for his pirates, even to go as far to develop artificial devil fruits and the smiles. So those are his goals. That's really all the information we have about Kaido. Now let's break down all the possible options of who Kaido's son could be. So the first option is him being a completely unknown character, but is a weak character. Now this is kind of a way to parallel Momonosuke as a storytelling element. Now Momonosuke, not living up to the father's expectations as Oden, like he mentioned 2 chapters ago, is like, I know better than anyone that I'm not my father. That could be the same parallel as Kaido's son, and now you have them two as a one-on-one situation, and they kind of in a way understand each other. At the same time, Oda can draw him super goofy and weak looking, as like a funny way to showcase this big reveal. Of course, he would make it work storytelling wise, but that's pretty much the factor. It could be also taken in a way that Kaido's collecting all these fruits to find his son the perfect fruit to be as strong, as mighty as he is, and a dragon and a strongest creature, unkillable creature. Another thing I forgot to mention about Kaido unkillable. He's been caught and tortured and tried to be executed by Yonko, Marines, everybody. Hasn't worked. Jumped off Sky Island, doesn't work. In a way, he's trying to find a way to die as well. So that's another one of his personality traits, or kind of his quirks, or like characteristics about his character. But back to the unknown weak character. So this could be a reason Kaido is collecting devil fruits to get his son, who is super weak, stronger. Now, I'm going to put this at slightly unlikely. I could definitely see Oda doing something like this. Or he could maybe spin another way, draw him super weak and actually make him strong. So I think slightly unlikely. And storytelling wise, at least from the way I see it, I don't really see how he could build off of it that much. I'm going to say it's like it's alright. It'd be kind of funny, and you can see the parallels and tell the story a little bit, but it's just nothing too surprising, nothing too crazy, right? Now the next possibility is somebody still unknown but is super strong. Now this is in a way Kaido's like ace, all right? So the way the Beast Pirates show are set up, they're like based off of like card numbers, card games and everything, like page 1, and like you have Solitaire is one of the people on the Beast Pirates, so they have people named after card games. Of course, you have the numbers, and then Jack, Queen, King, and everybody thinks, at least before this reveal, that Kaido was the ace in the Beast Pirates, so he was the big, strong guy. Now if his son is the ace, now this is another character for the Beast Pirates, for the samurai to fight, so another one-on-one opportunity for somebody to fight. Although I think the Beast, Big Mom and Kaido side is already pretty strong. They don't really need any more boosters, but that's, I guess, another way to like showcase Kaido's strength and kind of separate himself in a way of like, I'm not an ace, I'm just the one controlling this whole deck of cards that are my crew. Now with this storytelling wise is probably not as interesting as some of the other options, but I think this is actually a very likely option because it's just a way of boosting Kaido's side. Because we're definitely getting to the big battle here. Last couple of chapters, as I mentioned in the review, where we were boosting like the samurai side. We got Denjiro here, Jinbei's here, everybody's here ready to go. We got our plan, we're gonna attack. Now Kaido's side, they're kind of boosting Kaido's side a little more, and you could give this kid a backstory and tie him to Kaido's backstory as well eventually when that gets revealed. So I think this is actually a very likely option. Next up, we have Katakuri Oven Daifuku, a very popular theory. It was starting to get theorized before this was even revealed, just because how Katakuri is so closely, his personality is so close to Kaido, and he's got the teeth, jagged teeth, and so he's like a beast in a way, and nobody knows who his dad is, and of course he's the strongest in Big Mom's crew, so that's a way of like tying strength wise. And if you look at Katakuri, Oven, Daifuku, they all kind of have similar features that you could relate to Kaido. However, I don't think this is that possible. Bringing it back to the age thing, of course this is not something that's confirmed and it's only pure speculation. If Kaido was 58 years old, Katakuri is 48 years old, Big Mom did not have a kid with Kaido when Kaido was 10 years old. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, if you throw the whole thing out the window of age, it could make sense. But I really think Kaido is like 10 years younger than Big Mom. That's like, why go out of the way to mention that he was an apprentice? Was he just weak when he was grown up? I guess that's another storytelling element. So that could be a way to explain his backstory. Kaido was actually just a very weak, frail kid when he was growing up. I guess that could tie back to the unknown weak character being revealed as a kid. There's so much ways to bring about this, but I don't. At the end of the day, I don't think it's Katakuri, Daifuku, or Oven, because they're just Big Mom's side. I don't think you need to mingle with Yonko's, mix and match their kids just because somebody's super strong on Big Mom's side. That could just be purely from Big Mom being an absolute beast. So at the end of the day, I guess storytelling wise, that could be interesting because it brings Katakuri back into the fold, and that makes everybody, that's a fan favorite at this point. That makes it very interesting storytelling wise, but I don't think it's very likely at all. I actually think it's very unlikely that happens. Next up, another option, we're gonna run through some quick possible options here. We have Weevil. To the explanation there, he's super strong, he's very top heavy, just like Kaido, but that doesn't make any sense at all. He's gonna say, where is my son? Weevil just doesn't know at this point, and how is Bakken just manipulating Weevil like that? I think people just make that connection because they're both very, super strong and very top heavy, and resembles a little bit, I guess, but Kaido's like very bulky and muscular. Weevil's a thick boy, okay? So, but I don't think that's really a very likely option at all. Next up, we have Bartolomeo. Somebody noticed that his gang has like the same tattoos as people in Kaido's crew. That doesn't really make too much sense. Of course, you have the Bari Bari no Mi option. I guess a way to explain that is Kaido killed the old lady. He also killed the old man and then gave that fruit to his son Bartolomeo. But that just doesn't connect. Kaido, is somebody who's wants to break down people's will and is ruthless. If his son is a super fan of Luffy, a supernova, I don't think Kaido would just let that fly. Also, Bartolomeo, as far as we know for his backstory, is that he was at Locktown when Luffy was about to be killed by Buggy, and that's when he got inspired. He saw the lightning dragon come down and save Luffy, and then eventually during the time skip, he became a pirate himself. It also was noted that back in his hometown, he was like a mafia boss in a way. So, doesn't really connect with me that Kaido's son is just roaming around as a mafia boss in his hometown, which I guess it could be Kaido's hometown growing up, but it just doesn't match up storytelling wise. So I think that's very unlikely, but would be a hell of a surprise if Oda really went that direction. It would be very funny. It'd be a hell of a surprise, but I think very unlikely. Another option is Jack the Drought. Of course, he has the horns as well, and I guess personality wise, he's kind of referred to as like a brat by Queen and King in a way, and that's really the only connection. Also, one thing to note is that Jack would be the same age as Momo. Jack is 28, Momo is 8, 20-year jump. they would be the same age. I guess you have that connection. When Kaido was about to kill Momo, he's like, wow, I didn't realize how young you were. So that could be like his son was the same age. So he felt a little like sympathy, but and then instead of killing Momo, he's like, I'm not gonna kill you by my own hands. I'll leave you to burn in the fire. And that's how Momo ended up getting away. Jack being Kaido's son, why not just reveal that off the bat? Like, I don't really see this roundabout way of going to get him revealed, and then it's just somebody we already knew in Jack, and then his main focus, his main storyline, in my opinion, is his fight with the Minks and how Nekomamushi and Inuarashi are gonna go Sulong form and duke it out with Jack, I think, and also Jinbei too. If Jack were his son, that means he would either be half fishman or Kaido is a fishman, which will be crazy. I guess in a way to explain, a lot of people were saying if Kaido wants to just kill himself, why doesn't he just jump in the ocean and just drown and he can't do anything about it and just die that way? I guess that would be a way to explain he can't kill himself that way because he's actually a fishman, which would be mad if Kaido was a fishman. I guess that's, in a way, he's a creature, the strongest creature in the world, that way too. So I guess this is slightly unlikely. I could see Oda going this way. It could work, but I just don't see the story element really developing that much from it. So it's kind of a in terms of storytelling, but I think it's slightly unlikely. One thing I did forget to bring up is the a lot of people reference the Punk Hazard chapters where you I believe chapters 677 or 675, those two chapters, where Caesar was broadcasting what was happening on Punk Hazard, and you have like silhouette panels of like people in the underworld, and one of them was a guy with horns, and later we find out when Caesar was defeated, that guy was like, oh, I gotta go tell Jack about this. So that way, it's like the only thing going off that is he's an unknown guy and who was kind of referenced. He has horns, and he referred to Jack as just Jack, not Jack Sama, as a way of respect. And that, I think, could tie into either the unknown weak or unknown strong possibilities. But, I don't think it's that deep, to be honest with you. I think other people in Kaido's crew have the horns, and the whole thing with him just not referring to Jack as Jack Sama, that could just be simply a translation thing where it just didn't get included in the translation. I'm sure that's happened before, and we didn't pay that much attention to it because it's really not that important unless you're talking about like Law, who adds like ya at the end of every person's name. That's something you want to get translated as is a characteristic. Something minor as including a Sama, maybe they just overlooked that. But it is a possibility, but great catch by a lot of people. That's why we love the One Piece community, noticing all these things going back 300 chapters ago. And it would be a very Oda thing to do, to bring this little 2 boxes in 2 separate chapters 300 chapters ago. And it's actually like almost exactly 300 chapters ago, because this was 977 that got revealed, and the last time we saw that guy was 677, I believe. At least it would be very close to 300 chapters, because I think 675 was the first time we saw him. The next one might have been 677. I'm not exactly sure. I'll put some text up to confirm it or not. But yeah, it would be a very Oda thing to do, but it's also could be not that deep at all. Now, my favorite theory that I've seen, first mentioned by Tekken 101, the One Piece encyclopedia himself. Also, he noted that he saw it off Reddit, so credit to whoever said this first, but it's that Kaido's son is actually dead. Now, this would be a super Oda thing to do, because there's so many ways you could spin this. Is first of all, why Kaido gets drunk, because his son died at an early age or something like that. So he gets drunk all the time, so that's why he gets sad sometimes, so he starts hallucinating. His son is actually alive, and his crew already sees this so many times because Kaido's drunk all the time. They're just like, oh, don't worry, he's gonna come soon. He'll be here soon. Maybe that's why he starts comes to reality with the fact that his son's not alive. That's why he starts crying, gets sad. And it'd be a very Oda thing to do to give us backstory on Kaido's son. Maybe we don't find out who Kaido's son is at all, after this chapter. He doesn't get revealed, and we're just kind of wondering, where's Kaido's son? Where's Kaido's son? And the battle's going on. We're wondering when he's going to show up, and he just doesn't show up. And then when Kaido's about to get defeated, we flash back, and then we learn about Kaido's son dying, and that's why Kaido tries to kill himself so much, to reunite with his son, finding a way to die. That could be a very dark and emotional background to Kaido, who we really know nothing about yet. And, it's kind of a way to add to the Yonko arc. In Thailand, we learned about Big Mom's sad backstory in a way, but this could be Kaido's little sad backstory. I do think this is pretty likely. If it doesn't happen, whoever came up with this is a storytelling genius, because this is really a great storytelling element and a great spin and surprise. And I think it would be a very interesting way to tell the story. So I actually really hope this happens, because if it is the other likely option, who I think, which is just an unknown character that's pretty strong, I think it just boosts Kaido's side a little too much, and we really don't need it. I guess it could be a way of, you could have Kid fight Kaido's son and then Luffy fight Kaido. But at this point, I'll make another video about this probably. I don't think Luffy can solo Kaido at this point. It has to be like a group effort to defeat this man who's been hyped up to be the biggest bounty alive, as far as we know, at least for pirates. And then always trying to kill himself, unkillable, been tried to be killed by other Yonko and Marines so many times, it just hasn't worked. It doesn't make sense for Luffy just all of a sudden solo this guy, so I think it's a group effort to kill Kaido. Of course, if he adds this guy, he could make it work by bringing external forces to help kill Kaido, and I think Kaido really has to be killed here. But my bet is, or at least my bet and what I want to happen is that Kaido's son is actually dead, because I think that still keeps the playing field even and is a great storytelling element. But yeah, that's all the options I could think of that realistically make sense. But comment below, let me know which option you think is most likely and which one would be the most interesting. And I'll see you guys next time.